a few words about rankings, because that has been addressed early on. And I know that in India, the ranking is very important. This being said, since I'm also working a lot with the OECD and the PISA studies, etc., and the Shanghai ranking, etc., we in Europe are much less interested in the ranking, even though we are. But as I said earlier on, it's not only about what you learn at universities and about the ranking and having the best possible students in all fields, but it's also about learning to learn, and it's also about developing soft skills. And that's why we have a system in Europe whereby we try to have a system which is the EU multi-rank, whereby we think that every university has weaknesses and strengths. And I think it's really important to compare both. And I think we don't have a system whereby one size fits them all. And I think this is really important. I was in Japan a month ago, and when I look at how much those students are being pressed upon, I also, and most of you have kids in the room, do we want kids that are really in the best universities, or do we always want happy kids? And I think this is really a balance which for Europe is very important. And since I've been studying Indian philosophy a little bit, I know it's also important in your place. And I think being in the best ranked universities is important. But when you see and the level of suicides amongst those best universities, I think it's also about the quality of life. And I think we need to get that balance right. And I talk here to Indian people, I think this is really important. When we talk about Europe and why should we come to Europe and internationalization, I think it's really important that Europe has a different quality of life than Indian. I don't say it's a better quality of life. I think it's a different quality of life. We have a different history, we have a different culture, we have a different geography, we have different traditions. I think talking now about gender balance, I think the role of women, even though it's still not where it should be in Europe, is a little bit different in Europe than it is in India. So I think there also we can learn from each other. And I will ever remember when I was, it was 3 years ago, I was in India with my nephew, and I visited an ashram because he wanted to celebrate his 18th birthday in an ashram. And when he turned 18, the cook, the lady who was cooking in the ashram, said to him, now you have to make the prana to your aunt. And he was looking at this, what's the prana to my aunt? Because this is not imaginable for a European kid. And after a few days, suddenly he understood that this was just part of the culture. And so suddenly I saw this 18, 1 meter and 90 centimeters high, making the prana to me. This is just a little detail, but it just shows that when you travel, when you are abroad, you also learn about traditions, and this is really important. The other aspect I wanted to say is about English. English is one of the main languages in India. Till now, we had very little or not enough curricula in English in Europe. This has changed a lot, especially at the level of masters, especially in the field where you are the best, which is biotech, engineering, IT. Most of the universities in Europe now offer English classes in the universities. And I think that's one of the messages I wanted to pass on. We really have opened up. The following message is about, and I said it a little bit this morning, is internalization. Oh, that's a difficult one. It's not only about mobility. It's not only about mobility of teachers, of pupils and of students. It's about mobility of teachers. It's about mobility of the directors of the universities. I think we also need to get the leaders of our university to become more mobile. I think how comes that you send your students abroad if you're a little bit afraid of what's going to happen? So I think part of our programs is also to have a system whereby the leaders of the universities, the teachers in the universities can move around, because internationalization also starts from the top. We know that the students are ready to go, but we need the teachers, we need the structures to follow and to be convinced, because otherwise it will not function. And so that's why in the Erasmus program we also have that kind of mobility that is foreseen. And last but not least, and I was talking about this earlier on, is the capacity building, because we have to learn from each other. One of the presidents of FIC this morning was talking about MOOCs. We all invent MOOCs. I think at some stage we should be able to put the MOOCs together, because what's the point of reinventing the wheel all way long? I think if something functions somewhere in a MOOC, let's try to put together. IT now allows sharing of information online, free of charge, with open data. I think when we talk about big data, let's also use it not only for intelligence, for CA, for FBIs, and for all those things. Let's try to use big data for our youth and try to find ways, with the help of IT people, with nanotechnologies, with artificial intelligence, to find MOOCs where we can take a little bit of this one, a little bit of this one, and we get tailor-made MOOCs for the students, adapted to their needs. I think this is really important.
UGC is, I will talk about 3 levels. One is joint research programs which UGC is having. Second is the GYAN scheme, which is Global Initiative for Academic Network. And third is the recent, only 4 months back, we have issued a regulation on maintenance of standards for promotion of academic collaboration between Indian and foreign universities. Now, first about the joint research programs, UGC is having a lot of research programs which are jointly held with the foreign countries like USA, UK, Israel, Norway, New Zealand, Germany, Hungary, Australia, and others. And here also we have 2 types of programs. One is fellowships, scholarships, and exchange programs, and other are joint research programs which are at the institutional level. When we talk of fellowships, we have about 5 programs. One is Raman Fellowship for Postdoctoral Research in USA, and where the Indian students are going for research after PhD level for postdoctoral research. And last year, that is in 2015-16, we sent about 183 candidates from India to USA. Second is Commonwealth Medical Fellowship, that is for medical graduates, the teachers, faculty in the medical colleges and universities in India, they are going to UK. And last year, 10 fellowships were offered under this scheme by the UK government. Then we have Stipendium Hungaricum program, where Indian students, they pursue all levels, graduate, postgraduate, and PhD at the universities in Hungary. And the numbers is good because 2015 we sent 133 scholars, 2016 167 scholars. Similarly, Hungary scholars are also coming to India for pursuing studies in Indian universities. Apart from that, we have exchange of scientist programs with Germany, where 10 scientists are exchanged every year in the field of humanities and social sciences. And then there is a project-based personal exchange program which is a collaborative program between DAD and UGC. And in this also there is a partnership for the subjects of humanities and social sciences. Apart from these 5 fellowship programs, we have about 6 joint research proposals. One is UGC-UKRI thematic partnership, which was started in 2006, and this was to enhance education link between India and UK, and British Council is participating in it, and 2014-15, 10 joint research programs between India and UK were awarded. Apart from that, we have Indo-US 21st Century Knowledge Initiative, which was announced in 2009. And so far, 20 Indian and 20 US projects have been undertaken under this project. Then we have Indo-New Zealand research projects. Again, 7 projects were undertaken last year. Indo-Israel Joint Research Program, in which research cooperation between Israeli and Indian scientists is there. 11 proposals were approved last year. Indian-Norway Cooperation Program, which is for enhancing higher education links between India and Norway, and 13 projects were selected last year. And Australia-India Education Council, which was established in 2011, and Jamia Millia Islamia is doing 1 project under that. Apart from that, because we are talking a lot about the MOOCs, I am happy to inform you that India has recently issued regulations on MOOCs, wherein the MOOCs courses which will be offered on Swayam platform, which is being made by MHRD, the courses offered on that Swayam platform will count for degree requirements. Like suppose I am doing MSc Physics from a university in which quantum physics is not a very good teacher is not there in my university. So I will do quantum physics from some other university, say JNU or Delhi University, and the credits for that course will be counted in my home country. So for most of the countries, MOOCs is done as a certificate program, but credit counting is rarely done. So this is for the first time that UGC has made a regulation for giving credit recognition for the MOOCs courses all over the world. I mean, any person can do, but if it is on the SWAYAM platform, it will be counted for credit. Right now it is SWAYAM platform. Maybe in times to come, we'll go to the other platforms also.
Given the subject that we are discussing in this panel discussion, I thought that from the Association of Indian Universities side, let us share the way we understand internationalization and what are the different perspectives, because it is based on our understanding that the discussion takes place in our country. First of all, internationalization is not a new idea, as we are often given to believe. It's an age-old tradition. Scholars, students have been traveling great lengths to seek knowledge, sometimes to seek wisdom, quite often to seek truth. So that has been happening. But the new age internationalization is guided by many motivations, and that gives rise to many kinds of different apprehensions, and therefore some kind of a clarification would be needed at every time the discussion takes place. Of course, internationalization, as the DG mentioned, is not only about mobility of students across border, rather it's a multifaceted and multidimensional processes and includes many more, and a couple of slides would be based on that. And given this multidimensionality, people see what they want to see, and there again creates difficulties. Now, what we see is dependent on our perspective. And the first perspective that we see is from that point of view of those countries which are passing through PMS. And please do not misunderstand me. I only mean passing through the post-massification scenario in higher education. There are good number of countries, and there are many in Europe. Nearly all OECD countries are those where enrollments are declining, demand for higher education is declining, their demographics is not perhaps such to sustain the level of investment in higher education that they had done earlier. There could also be in this process a kind of talent dearth or urge to seek talent elsewhere, and also to utilize the capacity that they have created. This is one kind of perspective, where they may want people to come to their campuses, or they may want to go abroad. I'm not passing any value judgment, I'm just presenting that this is one perspective. The second perspective is that those nations which are still struggling with their teenage trouble, India and China, India in particular, our demographics is such that there is a huge demand for higher education. We are not able to meet all the demands for all kinds of higher education. Our population is rising, and we are caught in this trilemma of balancing between expanding our system of higher education, ensuring equity and inclusion and excellence, and because of the resource crunch, nurturing talents is a challenge. Now, between these two perspectives, there could be many win-win situations for collaboration between any two countries or globally. But then also tensions around these objectives, apprehensions around these objectives. But then there is a third scenario, and this third scenario is the enlightened perspective, which I call. And I think the presentation made by the Director General was very elaborate on this and made my job easy, that the enlightened perspective is that we do not see education as a market. We do not speak in terms of export and import. We do not talk about education as a service. Rather, internationalization is about working together for a better and shared future for the countries, for the world, which are collaborating. It includes sharing of knowledge and practices, collaborative research and developments, creating international and global alliances to work on certain themes, certain projects of common interest, and the objective could also include preparing global citizenship and human resources which are fit to work in a global settings and the global context. They see internationalization as an instrument, as a driver for change. And I'm very happy for the past 2 years I've been working very closely with the European Union, trying to bring them together with the Indian partner institutions. And this is the kind of perspective which the European Union has, and there lies the commonality where I find it easy from the Association of Indian Universities to connect with my member universities. In fact, we at the Association of Indian Universities have taken a position that we will neither support nor be partner in marketing of any program, like particularly dealing with the attraction or recruiting students. Now, given these perspectives, your motivation for internationalization could be different. If you belong to perspective 1, perspective 2, or enlightened perspective, so there could be a motivation that you are seeking only to maximize your revenue, charging differential fees, having massive marketing communication drive to attract students. That is one model, one motivation. Other motivation could be the pride seeking, going global, setting up campuses, hunting talents wherever they are available. Some might call it as poaching, because if the talent is limited and everybody tries to hunt, then one benefits at the cost of the other. Of course, the market plays a very important role, but then there are two factors, and the most sustainable internationalization has happened when the motivation is that you intend to promote quality, that you intend to enhance excellence. You see internationalization as an instrument whereby you bring in diverse culture, diverse set of people together. Of course, all oriented around merit. You do not compromise on merit. And then that process of internationalization happens. And that is most sustainable instruments.